Okay, I think it is. Get this one over here. All right. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. Georgia plays Georgia Tech today. Looking forward to watching the game. So Georgia Tech's beat Georgia the past 2 times they've come to Sanford Stadium and ripped up our hedges. In my opinion, this is a very difficult game for Georgia to play. It's the last game of the year. It's usually always a noon game, and not very many people go to this game. Today it's rainy and cold. There's so many tickets for sale on StubHub from people selling their tickets not wanting to go. I didn't go because I didn't want to freeze my ass off in the cold, and I wanted to get these videos done today. So shame on me for not going to a game this year. You can type on that and get mad about it if you want. You know, I just couldn't do it. I wasn't going to go freeze my ass off today. So, you know. Anyways, yeah, not a lot of people go to this game. The students, I believe, are out for Thanksgiving. They are. The fans don't want to go because it's just Thanksgiving week. Not a lot of people go to this game. I'll be surprised if it's sold out. Up in the 600s, I expect some empty seats. In the corner of each of the 300s, I expect some empty seats. And Georgia, when they play at home in Athens, they usually come out flat. So that's the only thing that I'm worried about in this game. I don't think Kirby's going to let that happen. I think that Kirby's going to have this team fired up and ready to play. Kirby Smart really hates Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech was good when Kirby was there. I don't know what his record is against Georgia Tech, but he takes Georgia Tech personal, and I know he is super pissed that they lost to him at home the last time that they played. So this team should be fired up, come out and stomp Georgia Tech. I think the score is going to be 42 to about 24, 42 to 24, maybe 21. If they get 24, I'll be surprised. Maybe in garbage time, I don't know. We're just going to have to see how this game goes. I bet you Georgia rushes for more in this game, even though all Georgia Tech does is run the ball. I'm really expecting a total domination. Georgia to totally dominate physically, athletically, mentally. I just expect them to come out and smack Georgia Tech today. That's what you need to do. That's what elite teams do, is they beat teams that are not as good as them and don't have as good of players as them. Georgia Tech does not have as good of players as Georgia. Their coaches are nowhere near as good as Georgia's. Their stadium is nowhere near as good as Georgia's. Whenever Georgia plays at Georgia Tech, there are more Georgia fans in Georgia Tech Stadium than Georgia Tech fans, and that is a fact. It is totally red. Every time the Dogs play in Atlanta, they take Georgia Tech's field and turn it into a Georgia home game. That is a fact. So if the game would have been here, I would have went because I would have had more time to do all this stuff. But I needed to get this video done. I've got other stuff going on where I needed to be home. I wanted to go. Sorry that I didn't. That's a whole season I didn't make it to a game. So, you know, that sucks, but it is what it is. As far as Georgia Tech goes as a culture, Georgia Tech, as an administration and athletic department, they do this to themselves. Every problem that Georgia Tech has is because Georgia Tech has brought it on themselves. There is no reason, none, that Georgia Tech should not be good at football. Georgia Tech is in downtown Atlanta. It's that triple option, horrible offense that prevents Georgia Tech from being good at football. Don't give me the crap about grades, because Notre Dame is tough to get into. Michigan is tough to get into. Stanford is tough to get into. Vanderbilt is tough to get into. And all these schools have a better football team than Georgia Tech, and it's not even close. So Georgia Tech, them not being good at football, they bring this on themselves. Paul Johnson wins 11 games a year, once out of every 10, and they give him a humongous contract extension, pay him a whole bunch of money he doesn't deserve, in my opinion. And that's why they are where they are. So Georgia Tech has no excuse. They should be good. Every state bordering Georgia comes to Metro Atlanta to recruit football players, and Georgia Tech doesn't have good players because no one wants to run that offense. That's the entire problem. All right, so let's get into the stats of the game, and then we'll talk more about Georgia, more about Georgia Tech, and why I think Georgia Tech should be taken off our schedule until they fire Paul Johnson, get a real coach, and have a real team. Because it's not even worth. This game is not even worth us playing, and I'll explain why after the stats. All right. Points per game. Georgia's got 39.6 points per game on average. Georgia Tech's got 36.9. Given up points per game. Georgia's given up 16.8 points a game. Tech's given up 27.5. Rush yards a game. Or rush yards per rush. Average rush yards per rush. 6.21 for the Dogs. Tech is right under 6. Yards per play. Georgia's averaging 7.4. Tech's averaging 6.37. Red zone success. Dogs, 91% success in the red zone. Bumblebees, 80% success in the red zone. That's field goals and touchdowns included. because we all damn well know that Georgia, for whatever reason, inside the 5-yard line, cannot score a touchdown. I don't know why. It's inexcusable. I don't like it. It pisses me off, but that's proved me wrong. All right. Mecole Hardman's averaging 17 yards a return on punts. Georgia Tech's averaging 7. Third down conversions. Dogs are converting 50% of the time. Tech's converting 47. Opponent's third down. UGA is giving up a first down on third down 32% of the time. Tech's giving up a third down 50% of the time. So look for that today. We should be able to do whatever we want on third down. Turnover margin. The Dogs are +4. Tech is +8. The Dogs have got to get that turnover margin up. We have got to have turnovers in this game, and we've got to have +2 or 3. I've been saying 3 for weeks. That's a tall task. We have got to be +3 in the Alabama game in turnovers to win that game. So you can bitch about it, type about it, make an excuse about it. That's what it's going to take to win. I don't want to hear any different. And when we lose, don't bitch about us not doing it. Sacks. Georgia's got 17 sacks on the season. Georgia Tech's got 16, so they're not very good either. Georgia is second to last in the SEC in sacks. Okay, I've been going absolutely insane about this thing. This is one of the one things that this team doesn't do well, and all I am trying to do is bring to people's attention that we have had the number 5, 3, and 1 recruiting classes in the country the past 3 years. Is second to last in the SEC in sacks acceptable at UGA? It's not. And I've talked to a ton of sensible people on the Georgia groups that when I ask them that question, is that acceptable? No. I send those people a friend request immediately. If you believe otherwise, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm just pointing out one area where we could improve and asking for improvement. You know what I mean? That's not a whole lot to ask. So I'm going to absolutely lose my mind in the video after this one on Georgia fans and Falcons fans and Hawks fans. And I'm going to let y'all know the honest opinion of why we don't win championships in this state. And you can get pissed about it, but it's the truth. So Georgia's given up 16 sacks. Tech has given up 12 sacks. Richard LeCounte leads our team. He has 38 solo tackles. I told y'all Richard LeCounte was going to be a badass. I knew he was going to be a badass. Watch his high school tape. Richard LeCounte is going to get better and better and better and better. Every single time that he plays. He was a 5-star safety coming out of high school. The dude is one of the hardest hitters I've ever seen. He's just an incredible football player, incredible athlete. He's going to continue to get better. Mecole Hardman's our leading receiver. He has 31 receptions for 475 yards. He's averaging 15.32 yards a reception. So Mecole, another big-time player, huge recruit out of high school. He was the number 2 recruit in this state. Demetrius Robinson, who has not played for us very much yet, was number 1. He's the kid that went to Cal, then transferred back to UGA. He was like Pac-12 Freshman of the Year when he went to Cal. So he's a talent. He just hasn't played a whole lot for the Dogs yet. DeAndre Swift, for all you Holyfield haters, he's got 125 rushing attempts for 857 yards. He's averaging 6.86 yards a rush, which is better than Elijah Holyfield. They're 2 different styles of backs. I'm thrilled that DeAndre Swift is healthy. I'm thrilled that he's playing his best football at the end of the season. I like Swift. I think it's a damn shame that he was injured as bad as he was at the beginning of the year. And I think it's a damn shame that we were led to believe it was something minor when it wasn't. It wasn't just, oh, he tweaked something. He had a surgery. And we're, you know what I mean? Maybe they wanted to keep it a secret. I don't know. But I saw a lot of people that were hard on Swift and riding his ass thinking that it was just a sprain or something like that. And it wasn't. It was serious. And now that he's healthy, since after the Florida game, he's looking like himself. He's looking better. So, anyways, for Georgia Tech, Malik Rivera leads their team with 32 solo tackles. Brad Stewart leads their team with 13 receptions, 214 yards. Taquan Marshall, their quarterback, is leading them in rushing. He's got 174 rush attempts for 857 yards. He's averaging 4.93 yards a rush. So that is ridiculous that their leading receiver has 13 receptions on the season. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. This is college football. This is not Pee-wee. This isn't pound ball. This isn't 1962 when my grandfather was running the triple option and whatever that pistol stuff was that they ran in Texas and Oklahoma in the Dust Bowl. 13 receptions on the year for 214 yards. That's their leading receiver for Georgia Tech. That's embarrassing. It's horrible. Now, to why I think Georgia Tech should be taken off our schedule. And a lot of the older Georgia fans are going to cry and complain about this, and that's fine. Make your own YouTube channel about how how we should keep Georgia Tech on the schedule because it's a great rivalry and all that. And I agree. I agree that it is. But at this point in time, since 2007 onwards, what does UGA benefit from playing Georgia Tech every year? Because we're favored in every game, so we're expected to win every game. If we lose, it is a total embarrassment to this team, and no one ever picks us to lose, but the 1 out of 10 times that we do lose, it is completely and totally embarrassing, and when we win, we get no credit. Zero, no credit for ever winning the Georgia Tech game. It doesn't matter if we beat them 42-14. We could beat the absolute hell out of them. No credit. It's just, oh, they won. They're expected to win. Let's carry on. And that's not fair. That is not fair that we put our players at risk with those chop blocks the week before the SEC title game every single year so that we can beat this team on an average. I haven't looked it up. It's got to be 14 or better on average that we beat them per season. We went overtime with them a couple of times. They beat us the past 2 times at home. But if you took from 2007 to now, man, we have drubbed them a few times where it looked like they shouldn't even have been on the field. And the way I want this fixed, either take Georgia Tech off the schedule and replace them with someone who matters right now, or Georgia Tech needs to fire Paul Johnson, get a real coach, start doing real recruiting, recruit real athletes that would want to stay here in Metro Atlanta, and have put together a good football team, because you have no excuse, zero excuse not to have a good football team when your college is in the middle of downtown Atlanta. You don't have to go 60 miles from your school to bring in a top 10 recruiting class. So everything that's wrong with Georgia Tech is Georgia Tech's fault. I cannot believe that the Georgia Tech fans have went through this for as long as they have and accepted it. It's wrong. It's not okay. And I can't believe that they've went for it, honestly. I know some Georgia Tech fans that are good people. I was putting in air conditioning yesterday at a Tech fan's house. He wants Paul Johnson out of there. All my friends that I went to high school with that are Tech fans, they want Paul Johnson out of there. So I don't know how this guy has a job. I don't know why he's allowed to rob the university like that. You had one good season, one good team that I can remember, and that was in 2014 when you went to the Orange Bowl and beat the hell out of Mississippi State because you actually had some recruits that could run that offense for Paul Johnson, and y'all had a good season. So congratulations on that one season. I think you beat us that year too, or did you lose in double overtime to Todd Gurley? You did. You beat us 2015, and what was it? You beat us the past 2 times at home. I can't exactly remember the games. One of them, Jacob Eason was there, and the one before that, I think. But the Jacob Eason game, for whatever reason, we couldn't pass the ball. You guys played stout on defense, so congratulations. Georgia usually comes out flat in this game. That pisses me off, but I can't get mad at the players because I didn't go to the game, and nobody wants to leave their Thanksgiving feast and their weekend and their families to go sit in the cold-ass rain for the Georgia game today. Students included, schools out there. So that's part of the problem with this game being played at Sanford Stadium. I would almost rather play it at Georgia Tech every year because then all the students and fans that come home to Atlanta would be able to go to the game here in Atlanta and then get back to their house in a reasonable time. So, that's what I wish would happen. And I was even thinking a minute ago who we could replace Georgia Tech with, and I wanted to be Clemson, but Clemson plays South Carolina today. Florida State plays Florida today, so that really wouldn't work. I wish that it would, but it wouldn't. It makes sense to play Georgia Tech. I just wish they would be better competition, because if we win, we just did our job. Nothing else gets said about it. If we lose, it's a total embarrassment. The Bees fans come out of their holes in the ground for one game a year. They get all over the internet, and they stay all over the internet for weeks on end. It'll be the first week of January. They'll still be talking about how they won the Georgia game as their sole accomplishment in football during their lifetime. And it's just annoying. I'm not going to stop them from doing it or say not to do it because it is fun to trash talk with them. But, it's just, I wish that we would get more credit for winning. They just aren't ever good enough for us to get credit for winning. I wish they would put together a real offense because Tech has had some good defensive players on their team. The academic issue, that excuse does not work. Notre Dame is a very hard school to get into, and they find a way to put together a good football team, so that excuse doesn't work. I don't want to hear that Georgia Tech is a hard school to get into and the players don't want to go there because of academics. That's not true. Players go to places that have hard academics all the time. Michigan's a fantastic football team this year. They have a fantastic academic program, so that you cannot use that. Just don't. This is football. This is a football channel. And I'm looking at what happens on the field. I don't care what happens in the Georgia UGA classrooms or the Georgia Tech classrooms. I don't. I didn't go to Georgia. You know what I mean? I went to college, but I didn't go to a big-time university. I went to Chattahoochee Tech for a year, and then I went to trade school, 18-month trade school, and got my degree from there. And I had straight A's once I finally found something that I wanted to do. In high school, I didn't. And you know what, man? I'm not a UGA University fan. I'm a Georgia football fan. I'm a University of Georgia football fan. So what UGA does in the classroom, I don't care. I don't care at all what goes on in the classroom. I'm a football fan. You know what I mean? I think it's great. If you get a degree from Georgia, that's great. But that's not the reason that I love UGA. It's the football team. It has nothing to do with the classroom. So Tech fans, they're a little more geared towards liking the classroom, but at the same time, this is a football game. We're all watching live TV today to see who has the better football team. Has nothing to do with class or school. I'm out of school. School is great, but Georgia's not even that much worse of a school or any worse of a school than Georgia Tech. It's very hard to get into UGA these days. So just stop using that excuse. Fire Paul Johnson, put together a good football team, recruit your ass off within 60 miles of your school, and you'll be fine. You should have a top 10 recruiting class every year. So that falls on y'all. Dogs, 42-24. I've got the Dogs winning. I think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to get worse as the game goes on. I think the Dogs are going to rush for more than Georgia Tech. I expect it to totally dominate this game. I hope that they don't come out flat. And the fans, I'll be surprised if the stadium's full. If it is, shout out to UGA fans. I think that's great. I've got to do another video. I'm about to lose my mind on these Georgia fans, but I hope everyone has a great Saturday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan today. What else? I just hope everyone has a happy holiday season and stays safe and stays warm. So y'all have a good one. Go Dogs.